Welcome to the Twisted Travelers Podcast, your weekly dose of theme park news and entertainment. And now, broadcasting from our studios in East Tennessee and Central Florida, here are your hosts, Jack Lathrop and Chris Jones. Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of the Twisted Travelers Podcast. I'm here in a very wet East Tennessee. It's been raining all day long, and I'm joined by my co-host Chris. How's it going tonight?
Good, what's up?
Not much. Trying to not float away in a boat. And tonight we are joined by Marcus from the Junk Riders. How are you doing tonight, Marcus?
I am good. I'm as wet as you are up here in Ohio.
I saw some pictures out of Cincinnati this morning. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, up here in Columbus, it's the same thing. We're getting deluged, as it were, at closing highways and such.
Oh, it hadn't gotten that bad here yet, but when I left for work this morning, I thought I was going to have to take a boat instead of my car.
Yep.
But we'll jump right in this week. We've got some news. We're going to talk about some GCI we've yet to decide, and then we're just going to talk roller coasters. So I think the first thing is we've seen it floating around. We've talked about it on this show. Marcus, if you all talked about it, but it's the B&M Surf Coaster. Whatever the heck this thing is.
Yeah, this is interesting. We had not talked about it yet. We did a live stream last week, but I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow when we record. But yeah, hey, this thing. What?
Exactly.
What?
I think everybody's aware of the fake leak that there was, and Jack and me were talking about that a lot. Like, there's no way that's real, but
I mean,
if it was that would be so weird, and it would be ridiculously expensive, I think.
Yeah, the two wheel assembly thing just weirds me out. First off, why do you need two wheel assemblies? And then it literally just looks like an invert car with extra wheels. I mean, that's the whole thing. So I'm with you, Chris. I think if this is not fake, I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with the fake train, just because you can really mock up those type of things with a copy and paste.
Oh, yeah. Give me 20 minutes in Adobe Illustrator, and who knows what I could create fake coaster-wise.
Heck, you could do some paint with that. You get some drawings.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still hoping that this thing's a 4D. Like, that's all I want.
Yeah. Marcus, I don't know if you know, but one of Chris's home parks is SeaWorld Orlando, so
nice.
We're really interested in how this is going to play out. Yeah.
I happened to be browsing on Twitter, and I found they're calling it the Fantastically Aligned Kinematics Experiment, i.e. fake. Man.
Physics, this right there. I was like, is it going to transfer between sets of tracks, like during the ride, or?
Yeah.
I would love to see someone's take on that ride system in No Limits. Like, I know that if it ever got built, I'd love to ride it, but I'd just love to see what that looks like.
Yeah, the things I've seen on No Limits, they could whole do that.
Oh, I've gone deep down. I play a ton of it, and I've gone deep into the whole custom scripting and everything. So it can be done. Someone just has to want to do it.
Yeah, having to get it done is the fun part.
Yeah, once you see it, seeing it done is amazing. The hours and hours of labor that go into it are not. Because I was looking at it earlier today. I think I have close to 1,400 hours in that game, and most of that is just blood, sweat, and tears.
That's a lot of time, man. Jeez.
I have left it idle overnight a couple times. So.
Yeah.
But moving on, there was talks earlier this week. It didn't happen, but there were talks about opening. That it obviously has not happened yet. But I do think there's a bunch of parks that are talking about reopening. The one that's biggest for me is Dollywood. Rumor has it I will be riding Lightning Rod in 2 weeks.
Very nice. But yeah, Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld San Antonio, I think they proposed a plan to be able to open this past weekend, but it just didn't get approved. So hopefully they can open within the next couple weeks. And me and Jack were talking about this a little bit. Once they do it, we're kind of thinking that a lot of other parks will follow. Like it'll start a chain of more parks to start opening as soon as possible, is what we're guessing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Go
really
ahead,
think it's
Marcus.
going to be interesting because you're going to see a pattern of what people are doing. Because it's not going to be just amusement parks, but it's going to be restaurants. It's going to be all these major social gathering areas. I mean, amusement parks are in a unique zone, and I think they're gonna. A lot of parks are waiting to see how it goes at these major parks, and then emulating that. Because I see that
Mhm.
almost from a state level too. Because Ohio has been very, they were the first to jump, and they're easing their restrictions slower than most, if not all, the other states. So I'm having a feeling a lot of other parks are doing the same when it comes to seeing how this goes in other places. Because if it hits the fan, then it's like, well, I'm not even wasting my money to ramp up, right? Spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, get my park ready, and then you hear news stories of 70, 80 people got infected on one day at Disney World or wherever it is. You don't want to be in the news for that. You want to be, well, we decided to hold off, right? So and
Mhm.
I think it's going to be an interesting one for parks that they are smaller, or they're in a sensitive area of the seasons, right? So you can't just jump off and go and be crazy because you don't want to have a month-long season and then end your season, right? That's a lot of money to spend for a month. To some parks it's worth it, some parks it's not.
Mhm.
It's going to be an interesting on again how that all plays out, because who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a very dynamic situation. I think the whole thing will come down to when parks decide to reopen, it's going to be someone's got to pull the trigger on the chain reaction. And I think the real question is what park will pull their trigger first and reopen.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Dollywood, the reason we've always thought June 1st was their target date. That's been rumors I've heard from friends I have at the park pretty much since they closed. But our governor has started throwing a lot of weight behind the idea of large attractions reopening. So I think we could easily see Dollywood become one of the first parks. And like you said, there are parks like Cedar Point, if by middle of July, they can't open yet. There's the starts of the talk, is it even worth opening this year?
Mhm.
Because you're already looking at most or like half your season being gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we're already kind of starting to see parks get ready for opening up. Like with Universal, City Walk's open now, and that's gone pretty well so far. And we've started to see new markers down in front of the park entrances for the social distancing and line and all that. So I think they could even open in early June because on their calendar it shows early June. Same thing with Busch Gardens and SeaWorld and Fun Spot. So I'm hoping Florida opens up fairly soon based on the calendars.
Um, SeaWorld, we're on Mako all day today. So
Yeah, that too.
wouldn't we all
Mass
love to be an
state on,
exec right
right?
now and just be able to ride Mako all day?
I wish.
But Chris, you mentioned it there for a second. City Walk is reopened, and you
Mhm.
actually got to go and walk
Yeah.
around for a bit. So, just what was it like?
Uh, Honestly, it didn't feel too different for me from a normal day at a park. Uh, Universal did a really good job with everything, making sure that everything was held to like the capacity it needs to be, and everybody had masks, and they did the temperature checks really fast as you're walking in. I thought they did a really good job of it, but just some of the restaurants and stores and like the mini golf's open. I did the mini golf, and of course, I liked getting to go back just to kind of get my park fix in just by taking pictures of Hulk and Rip Ride Rocket and getting to see them up close. So it was one of the best days I've had in a while, just because I was actually able to get out and do something fun. But overall, they did a
Hmm.
really good job, I'd say, with the reopening. And also the Jurassic
Yeah.
coaster. It looks really good. You can see
Oh
it
yes.
from the exit to go to Universal, and you can see it from City Walk. Like this thing's going really fast. It's already like 150 feet in the air or whatever. So I'm really excited for this ride now, especially that we're starting to see it come together all at once.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it because Hagrid's, and Marcus, I know you've got your opinions on Hagrid's. I love bringing that up. But this definitely looks like the more Maverick-esque ride of the two, and I think there's a chance it's gonna beat Maverick. I mean, that coaster's been like the staple of Intamin launches for years now.
Well,
is this finally what?
Well, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, from the folks that I know that've ridden Terran.
Oh, Terran too. I forgot about Terran.
I've heard Terran's already dethroned it. So, yeah.
Well, let's say king of the Intamins in the U.S.
Well, I mean, even you saying that, I mean, you're discounting some other folks. I know some fanboys out there that disagree with you about. I mean,
well, and I would definitely say Millennium Force on a given day will challenge Maverick for me, but
I mean, you got to remember we got El Toro out there. We got Dragster.
Don't get me started on Toro.
Hey, my plans for riding hopefully will still come this year. I'm hoping.
Well, it's looking good. I was sad that some of your lives got canceled, but the one I'm looking forward to has yet to be canceled. So
yes, that is the one that everybody wants.
Well, that one, and then y'all don't know it yet, but you have to throw me a birthday party at Busch Gardens Tampa.
Let's do it.
Because that Sunday is my birthday, and I plan on being there for IAPA this year. So, what was it? Ed's Heart Stole My Heart or something? This one's got to be something Busch Gardens Tampa, Jack's birthday.
Yep, perfect.
There we go.
We'll do a sub note under it.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a sub note. Get our Iron Gwazi fix, hopefully.
If it opens.
Yeah. Well, it's already open, technically.
Yeah, according to the billboard.
Billboard.
So, yeah. Moving on, the next one, the comeback story of the year, and the park that's, we're opening next month is Indiana Beach.
Yeah, right.
If there were a roller coaster for a park this year, it's been Indiana Beach. I mean, we're closed, we're being bought, now we're reopening with a VIP event.
But we're still going to be closed because of the COVID-19. Well, crap.
It's definitely been an interesting. So neither of us have been there. It's always been on the list for my dad and I. Have you been there, Marcus?
Oh yeah, several times. I went. My daughter's first actual big roller coaster was there. She rode. Oh man, brain fart. Well, but not Bolt. I almost said Boulder Dash. Oh man, imagine if Boulder Dash was at Indiana Beach.
Sure, that'd make the Indiana people happy.
Right. Cornball Express. There it is.
That one looks really good.
Yeah, Cornball. That's actually one of my faves. I love that roller coaster. And then Lost Coaster, Superstition Mountain's a phenomenal ride too. But no, yeah, I've been there several times. I actually lost my wallet there in 2009, 2010. Right before I went to Cedar Point. It was great.
So, that sounds like a good time to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, this is definitely on the bucket list for this year. I'm actually considering doing the VIP party. So that if they do it on time, I'm greatly considering forking over the money for a brick so I can go to that party.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. You see a lot of interest from that already from people. Hell, myself included. I mean, I only live 4 hours away. Just to go and enjoy it, right? Just to be a part of a reopening experience. Mostly because I know so many people that just absolutely love Indiana Beach. I know people over the years that, they've just been enraptured with the park themselves, right? And just love going. And the people, the old ownership, I think is what a lot of people miss, because you saw it with their new ownership, just was not the same. Just was not the same for them.
No, it definitely looked like a huge decline in quality of experience. I'm hoping this restores it, because what I've always heard is that before Apex took over, it was like another version of Knoebels, which is secretly probably my favorite park in the entire world because that place is amazing.
I don't know if you guys saw those numbers that came out, but from the looks of it, the family bought the park for like $2 million.
And didn't they get like another $2 million incentives or something?
Yeah, they basically got paid to buy the park.
Yeah.
Which is
that'd be an amazing. It's like, hey, I'll buy the park, and okay, here's the money. No, definitely, and it popped up on Reddit a couple of weeks ago, and I'm gonna message the guy and be like, hey, is there any chance we can get you on the show? And it's like, I'm the guy's son. Ask me anything.
Gene Staples' son didn't ask me anything. There were some people that were skeptical, but from some of the stuff he was saying to prove it, he seemed pretty legit. So,
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that's good. We found the son of Gene Staples. The other random thing is when y'all did your interview with Jefferson from Kentucky Kingdom. We've known for forever he was. I asked if he'd been on Reddit, and we know for forever he was. But he said he posted, and that revealed who he was. So I went and found him on Reddit. I was like, now we know who you are.
Yeah, I found him out after our live last year when we did at Kentucky Kingdom, and I knew him before, and then I met him that day, and then we've been friends ever since. So.
I didn't get the chance to meet him when I was at the park, but I did get to meet Jesse, and that park and that team are amazing.
Yeah, it's funny because that park may be the only one that, for me personally, keeps me going back every year because I love the staff as much as I love the roller coasters.
Oh yeah, the staff there was amazing. I mean, their social media. I mean, seriously, there's no other park that can compete. It's like that interview was fantastic because this is the place to be for social media.
Yeah, and then you're hearing all these stories on the back end too. That's always the fun part about interviews with some folks is you hear all these stories of things that you don't normally hear, right? I mean, you hear this, you hear that, but you don't hear about some of the nuances, some of the background of some things, how parks communicate, things like that. But yeah, hearing those stories from Jefferson was phenomenal. I loved it. So
I was cracking up. I was listening to it on my way home from work the other day. I was cracking up.
Glad
when I found out that there's apparently going to be a Drunk Riders Brewing Company, I was like, where do I sign up? Take my money.
Fun story, a little tangent, just like we do on the show. We actually have one of our logo. We're actually going to think we're going to put on a coaster. And not an actual coaster. That'd be phenomenal. We put on an actual coaster.
Hey, send it to me and I'll slap it on the front of my No Limits rides for y'all.
There you go. That'll give us some real views. I've
got a new coaster I've been working on. Seriously, send it to me and I will theme it to the Drunk Riders.
Perfect. I will. I'll. You know what? I'll put it on. I'll Instagram you. What? I'll put it on Twitter to you.
Hey, I'm not saying anything official yet, but there will be an Instagram page for Thrilling Moments Photography by the end of the week.
Ooh, scared of you.
That worked out perfectly,
right? Advertisement, perfect.
You were able to announce it right here on a whim.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
This episode will go live tomorrow morning, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, it's finally happening!" After 2 years of begging him to do it.
We also had to step our game up because, In the Loop challenged us on our live stream last weekend about because they had coasters and everything. I was like, "Well, crap!"
Oh yeah. I saw the coasters.
I was like, "We don't have coasters." All of us are like, "Well, maybe we should." Of course, to be fair, they've been around for like 20 years, and we've been around for like 2. So,
Hey, but I listen to y'all. I don't listen to them. So take that as you will.
True. We are the new breed. They are the old breed, as it were.
But so that was a whole tangent about Indiana Beach. We somehow went from Indiana Beach to coasters to more coasters to beer and then back to coasters.
Yep.
But the next one happened yesterday. We missed recording last night. I think we were all just kind of yesterday. I was exhausted. Dragon at Adventureland is gone.
We've seen a lot of deconstruction photos lately, and There was also a couple teasers of like a knight behind a dragon. It almost looked like it was like going to slay it. So hopefully they're going to add something pretty big in 2022 would be my guess with everything that's going on right now. But Adventureland's actually going to expand. It looks like some more. They're growing pretty fast.
Yeah, I'm glad about that. That's Adventureland's one of those. I haven't been there yet, so that's one of those bucket list parks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything they add makes me want to go there more.
Exactly.
Especially, and then like I know it was a Hopkins, and there are very few of them left, but let's be honest with ourselves, we probably weren't missing that much.
No.
we go there for Monster.
Yeah, I was gonna say Monster looks fantastic.
For sure.
So definitely interested to see what replaced it. I know Chris and I talked about a bunch of ideas. I threw out RMC Raptor almost immediately because any small park, that's what I want them to get.
Yeah. That seems like the most logical decision. They have
sure.
like the two go-tos for small parks, the Gerstlauer Infinity and the RMC Raptor. They'd pretty much be set at that point for a small park.
Mm-hmm. It's just like that park in South Dakota. They're adding the RMC Raptor.
Yeah.
That whole little like Midwest swing's just going to get better and better because you're getting that Lost Island theme park, the RMC Raptor in South Dakota, and if Adventureland's getting something new.
Frontier City.
He about said it.
I almost said it. Frontier City.
I would have started gut laughing and it would have been 10 minutes.
I'm so used to saying it, I can't help it.
Frontier. Trust me, anytime y'all say it on the podcast, I do it along with you.
Perfect. Yeah, Frontier City. I haven't been there either, so that's actually a swing that we were. So me and my just the drunk riders and my enthusiast friends, we were talking about doing that Midwest swing because those are some parks of Adventureland and heck the RMC over in South Dakota and Valley Fair. I've never even been to Valley Fair yet. Starting in Texas and just driving north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just hitting every single park.
We've been talking about doing like a small Midwest swing in the next month or two if everything calms down. Silver Dollar City and Worlds of Fun.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm missing Valley Fair, Cedar Fair Park wise, so I got to find an excuse to get up there too.
Yeah, it's been tough because I have been disappointed too often now. It feels like with some of the major parks. I went to Canada's Wonderland last year, and I was 2 years ago now. Wow, I was sorely disappointed by their ride lineup. So
yeah, their coaster lineup left much to be desired. Their flat ride lineup was amazing.
Yeah, see, that was fun times. That was a great breakup of the day because, like, you want to go from the Valair directly to the Boomerang to the SLC, or do you want to ride a good flat ride? Let me.
Yeah, definitely. I think I made my dad because we were there and we had a day and a half there to try to get everything in. It's like we somehow managed to get every credit in just a day and a half in the middle of June. It was pressed for time. We barely got re-rides on anything because I wanted to ride some of these flats that we don't have anything like here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's essentially what we did. We literally just went through the whole day and we didn't get a re-ride short of early ride time on Behemoth. Mm. And that was pretty much it. We just rode everything once. And that was before they announced Yukon Striker, so.
Yeah, we were up there the summer. I got to see Yukon Striker's tunnel. That was when they had the tunnel in by the time I was there, but that was it. I think I rode Leviathan twice. Once my first night and once my second night.
Nice.
And then Behemoth twice and everything else once, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much all you need.
Yeah, I want to get back up there. Grace Peacock, their PR director, did ask me to come to Yukon Striker Media Day, and of course it fell during the middle of state testing, and I couldn't get away. I was not happy.
Yep.
So, yeah, that. Or what else do we have?
3 quick things.
Oh yeah, Silverwood is planning on reopening. There's a park way out. But that's in Idaho,
it's
right?
over in Idaho, yeah.
Okay. That's where RMC does a lot of their testing type things. They trial Topper on that one of their coasters. Okay, that's what else? Castle and Coasters mini golf reopened. Oh, there's home to another Hopkins.
We're actually having parks reopen in the U.S.
Yeah, definitely. After I remember Shanghai was like the big. It feels like Shanghai started it, and now we're seeing it trickle, and the small parks are kind of going.
And Europe's starting to open.
Even then, yeah, I think it's going to take one of these bigger tier parks really punching or really going for it to get everyone else to start. And we talked about it earlier, but your Great Adventure Alive, there is hope because Jersey Devil construction is supposed to resume.
I think it already did.
Yeah, heck, they were close to being done before they really shut down.
Yeah, I feel like when they found out they were going to have to stop, they said, just go. Just get as much done as you can.
Yeah. That way we don't have to worry about it.
But yeah, resume. Like, they're really close. They could probably be testing, like, mid-June,
If they finish track and just really start moving on getting everything done, they'll be testing in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Heck, we were talking on the podcast that they'd be done, or not. Well, not done, but at least done with and started testing in March, April.
Oh yeah, at the rate they were going, they were on approach to be ready for like a Memorial Day open.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not going to happen now, but they were on track for it.
Yeah, I think they could really. I mean, you saw how fast some coasters pumped out through all their. Oh my lord! Through all their testing. There's the word. Testing is a big word, everybody. Through all their testing to get through everything, so you could definitely see that done. I mean, Iron Gwazi, the day after they completed their track,
I got to see
somebody on it.
I went like immediately to the park as soon as I could to watch it test. I got to see it for one day, and they closed, and I was so sad.
No, I remember when Zadra finished the track work and started testing, and it was like a week later it opened to the public.
Yeah, like 5. Of course, that's Poland. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Yes, I agree, but still, it just proves that RMC knows how to get their stuff going, and we know that Busch Gardens was intent on having Iron Gwazi because what was it, like 2 days after they shut down, there was a billboard now open.
Yeah. I think that may have been one of their oversights, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that felt like a slap in the face to all the enthusiasts.
Pretty much. But, you know.
Yep, and so that wraps up news. We've gone on a bunch of tangents. I feel like we're on a different podcast for some reason.
I don't know, that never happens on mine. I don't know what you're talking about.
So, Chris, I'll turn it over to you for Ride of the Week. Spin the wheel. Tell the people what it's about.
Okay, yeah. So, Ride of the Week, we've done this, I think, every episode now, or almost every episode.
No, I think we've done it every episode.
Okay, so every 4 weeks, we pick a new category that's like just randomly selected off RCDB, and then we keep going random through RCDB until we have 4 coasters. Spin the wheel each week and on the spot review each of them. Now, some of them I haven't ridden, some of them Jack haven't ridden, but we're doing GCIs right now. Last week we had White Lightning, so our options left are Gold Striker at California's Great America, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island, and Thunderhead at Dollywood.
I really hope we get one in particular.
Okay.
Oh, if only Tom was here.
We might just have to stop recording and badger him in to get the review.
Tom, get on real quick.
I mean, if you want, I can kind of like jade this one way.
We're on the air now. We can't. I mean,
all right, I'm spinning.
Oh, please,
and
please.
The winner is Gold Striker.
Yes!
I'm not even joking. I didn't make that up. It was actually Gold Striker.
Oh man.
Well, there are going to be so many tweets this week.
Okay. I haven't ridden this one, so.
Neither have I.
Okay, so it's down to me, and we can get. Hey, Tom, you want to come and give a review? And then it's awful, and that's the entire review.
It's terrible.
Contrary to Tom's opinion, this is my second. I guess it's my favorite GCI if you don't count Ghost Rider. If we're counting Ghost Rider, it's my second favorite. But if you don't count Ghost Rider, really. I don't know what he doesn't like about it. It's a good mix. It felt like a really good mix between Thunderhead, Mystic Timbers, and Lightning Racer at Hershey Park, which are probably my 3 other favorite GCIs.
Yeah,
So
I think our boy Thomas
really
had a bad ride on it. I mean, if it rides anything like Mystic Timbers, which is my favorite GCI actually right now,
Same.
it is a phenomenal ride, and I'm just catching up with I'm watching the POV actually at the moment, and yeah, it looks and rides, and I think it feels a little more like Thunderhead than it does Mystic Timbers, but because Timbers just hits you with airtime after hill.
Yeah, Timbers is all about airtime. I like a good mix. I like the mix between overbanks and airtime mixed together, which is why this one ranks so high for me. It's super smooth. It was fast. There were a couple of rides I had on it one night where it felt a little sluggish, but the next day it was hauling. So I'm convinced he had a bad ride.
I mean, our producer Kevin said it is actually one of his favorites, one of the best in California coasters overall.
Oh, it's up there for me. I want to say it's in my top 20, honestly. And I've ridden more coasters. Is it Tom that's only ridden 109? Or is it? Yeah. Okay. I've ridden more coasters than Tom, and this is in my top 20. You gotta mention that to him. That a 17-year-old has ridden more coasters than him.
I mean, to be fair, I do know I know some enthusiasts that are young that have been on like 600 at this point. So
I mean, Taylor, what's he up like 700 now?
Logan from Coaster Kids is way up there at this point.
Yeah, he's almost 1,000, I think.
I can't find my rankings list. I'm going to find it so I can say exactly where it's at.
Yeah, I will say Mystic Timber is just a little bit of a tangent off of that. It rides phenomenal, and I absolutely adored it.
It got better in 2017. It was good. It got better in 2018 somehow.
Yeah.
It was just felt like it really got loosened up. I'll take it. That's usually how my dad and I start a day at Kings Island. We go straight to Mystic, just because that ride's such a great way to kick off your day.
I would just stay there and ride it for like all day, and then go on Beast at night, and then close my day.
Yep. So Gold Striker is my number 15. That's there you go.
Nice. I would have to. I'd honestly just have to get on it. But just looking at it, I think it would definitely be up there. I mean, if it's anywhere between Mystic Timbers and Thunderhead, which again, I feel it's a cross between those two. Because last time I rode Thunderhead, I thought it was getting a little bit rough on the edges, but it was still a good ride.
Wait till you haven't been since they started retracking it, have you?
I have not. I think I last went 2 years ago. So.
It is getting buttery smooth. The back half on opening day this year was like riding on glass. It was smoother than most steel coasters I've been on.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's the greatest part, was that you weren't like, I wasn't coming off it like, this is bad.
It wasn't Mean Streak.
Yeah, well, you know what? And another tangent. Hey, man, welcome to the Drunk Riders podcast. The Mean Streak. So a lot of people hated on Mean Streak, and you know why it was so bad? Was because it went so slow.
Oh yeah, the one ride I had on it, because we made a special trip in 2016 just so we could ride that thing before it closed. Mm-hmm. And the one ride I had on it, I was like, this thing is just meandering at like 10 miles an hour for forever.
Yep. That's why it was so bad. I rode it. I when I was in college, I worked at Cedar Point for like a freshman weekend. I was in track our freshman weekend for a fundraising trip. So Cedar Point at the time, I don't know if they still do it. They have basically they pay you to work menial labor for a weekend. And I worked in the where Chick-fil-A is back by Maverick.
Yep. Yep.
They used to be a pizza place.
Okay.
I made pizzas back there. By the way, not the best pizza tasting, the best efficient pizza place you've ever seen in your life. Just want to FYI.
I believe it.
But there was only one actual crew member that worked for Cedar Point, and the rest of us were all, temp workers. So during our break time, they were like, "Oh, go do something." I was like, "All right."
There's a roller coaster right there.
Let's go ride some Mean Streak. So this is before Maverick. So we went and rode Mean Streak 5-6 times in the 15 minutes that we were there, and I was like, and this was at night too, so this is pretty late. I got my break because they were open till midnight. And we mowed it down several times. It was a good time. Oh man.
I'm sure.
Funny story. Another tangent. Hey. Well,
I might have to change the show artwork for this week.
to Tangent Central. Love it. Featuring the drunk. No, but
Also, like, I haven't come up with an episode title yet, so
we go on tangents with the drunk riders. Perfect. But no, that year, because I was working that, I was there on the last day of operation for Top Thrill Dragster.
oh boy.
Right?
That
So
coaster.
me with my girlfriend, we jumped in line because the pizza place in the back closed early because it's the back of the park, right? It closed at like 10:30, 11. So we went and got in line for Dragster, waited for the front row, and was the last train in the front row. Next morning during testing, before anybody rode it, cable snap, done for the year. So we were technically the last train of the year, public train at least, for Top Thrill Dragster in 2006, I think it was.
Dragster is. I'm obsessed with that coaster. I could ride that thing all day. I know it's short. I know it really doesn't do that much, but that launch is amazing.
Oh yeah, no man, dude, that's a beaut. That is a beaut for sure.
I'll go off on my own tangent. I think Chris has heard this story, but we were there in 2018. We were waiting on some friends to get to the park, and we were going to go ride Steel Vengeance. This is it's like right at the beginning of June. It just reopened from all the bumping incidents.
Yep.
And so we were like, they were driving in from Cleveland. So we were like, we'll ride Dragster while we wait on them. So we get on Dragster, we're sitting down. I think we were like row 8 or something. We really weren't concerned where we sat right then. And they walk up and they sit down the bleachers, and they roll us out of the stations. And we're sitting on the transfer waiting on the train in front of us to launch, and they never launched the train. And they roll us backwards back into the station and make us get off. And then they put us back on the train and rolled us out again. And then they rolled us back again. And then finally, after all that, we did get to ride. But the whole joke is, I have a double rollback on Dragster.
Nice.
Technically, I didn't go up the tower, but I did get rolled back twice on Dragster.
Nice. I don't know if you've heard my story, but I've missed a rollback in every way you could possibly miss a rollback. And the train before I was supposed to get on, the train after I was supposed to get on, friends have gotten rollbacks because I was like, I'm going to wait for a different row. Everything under the sun you could possibly do to miss a rollback, I've done. I've never gotten rollback.
I really want one. It's one of those. I think everyone wants one.
But I will say, on the other side, I have gotten a rollback on Maverick. A very unique rollback in the launch tunnel.
You've had a rollback on Maverick's second launch, right?
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
It's either an e-stops halfway down the launch, or that doesn't have enough power. So most of the time, it's an e-stop. So that happened during. So I rode at Media Day. I was one of the first riders in 2007. So that's when they didn't even let us out of the seat. They just said keep going. We rode it like 7-8 times in a row, and our first time around, they still had the effects in the tunnel. So I don't know if you've seen any POVs in there, but there was a full of fog.
I've seen some old POVs.
Yeah, from front to back. By the way, still to this day, best launch ever was Maverick's launch tunnel. Full effect.
that thing just hauls. You hit that thing, and the amount of force it throws at you at once is amazing.
Yeah, because the way the blocks were set up, it was a little jonky because they were still trying to iron out the kinks. So you came to a much slower speed going through that tunnel. So once it kicked up, it hit so much harder. And oh man, going through there, not knowing what was coming, especially the first couple of times, you were just like, "Holy crap, was that crazy?" So roll back and launch, and I went like 3/4 the way up that hill, and then roll back. It was very interesting. And that's one of those, you rarely see that. I've actually never actually seen it other than the time I've been on it happen.
Yeah, and that's one of those things I never knew it could roll back until I heard you tell that story. Like, I probably been a couple months ago. You told it on your podcast. But I was like, wait, Maverick can roll back. It does not need to go 70 miles an hour to clear that next hill. So you just never think about it actually rolling back. But no, we've just gone off on a tangent. We're through with Ride of the Week, so now we're just going to talk about coasters. So we'll just keep on going what we're doing. No, I definitely think Steel Vengeance. Marcus, you and I go round and round. I'm still waiting for you to fight me about it.
Hey, to each their own. I know you like Lightning Rod more.
Well, talking about rollbacks, there is no one who should have better odds to get a rollback on a coaster than me and Lightning Rod, and I still don't have one after its birthday is this week. So 4 years, 220-something rides later, and I still have not had a rollback. I've been in the station for like 20 or something ridiculous now.
Yeah,
it's like I'm always like a train away.
Yeah, I've definitely witnessed a few. I've ridden on 2 different occasions, but it looks very interesting on that rollback. But I still don't think so. Here's the thing. Now, me debating my number one's always a rough thing for me personally, and the reason I like Steel Vengeance more, because at first I didn't. My very first ride on Steel Vengeance, I didn't like it more than Lightning Rod. It was number 2. but it was a close number 2 because I was like, okay. But I came off the ride like, and you guys have both been on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I don't know about you guys, but I came off that ride like, what, like literally the words, my face.
Oh, the first time you ride it, you have no clue what just happened.
There's so much that it does, like all in such a short period of time that it's hard to take all of it in at once.
Exactly. That's why I couldn't rate it over at first. Because my mind just didn't take everything. There's been like maybe 4 or 5 rides I've ever been on in my entire life that I got done with it, and that was my expression. Like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah,
because much happened so quickly, and it was so great that you were like, holy crap.
Yeah, I think I have a list of about 3 coasters that have done that to me. Or I'll say 4 coasters. And my whole thing, so I'll say this. Steel Vengeance, it was ranked. It was my number 4 up until last summer. And I rode it, and I got off severely disappointed because it had to have been running awful that night. It was sluggish as all could be. So it's getting another chance this summer, and I have a very good feeling it will end up back higher. It's just for right now, it's suffering to the fact that there are other RMCs that I've had better rides on more recently.
It's still my number 4. I have Lightning Rod ahead of it at number 3. I only got 1 ride on it, though. I need to ride it again. But I just thought Lightning Rod's airtime on the quad down was more intense, in my opinion, and that's what put it over. And I also love terrain coasters and Lightning Rod's theming. Like, I just fell in love with that ride the first time I went to Dollywood. So I put it a little above it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Lightning Rod's quad down is probably tied with my favorite element in the world, if you count El Toro's ejector hill. Now, I also haven't ridden that one since 2007, so we'll see. But that quad down, especially on the first time, and guess what I left Lightning Rod with? What
Yep.
no words. There were no words for what had just happened.
I was in 7th grade. I was in 7th grade the first time I got to ride it. And it was May 25th. So we're coming up on my 4-year anniversary with my baby, but I got off of that thing. This was literally like day 3 of soft opening. This was the first day you didn't have to have a ticket to ride type thing.
Mm-hmm. It was the day after I did.
Yeah,
you were the day after me. Yeah,
I was like, this is really what's crazy. Lightning Rod was my 20th credit. So they really did set the bar extremely high for what I expected after.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
But you got off as like, I have to do that again.
Yeah, you really did. And if we didn't wait for 2 hours for it, I would have got back in line and rode it again.
Yeah, I think we rode it as having as Dollywood as a home park. It was like, okay, we don't got to ride anything else today. We will just stay over here. So I think the first day I ever rode it, I got 4 rides across I think I got row 1, 3, 5, and 12. And
nice.
I was like, I was in love.
Yeah, I think the first time we rode it towards the back, and then we didn't ride it until that night when we had our ERT.
Night rides.
Yeah, night ride ERT, yeah. And we probably rode it like 10, 15 times. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh,
We've been there for. I've gotten. I think my first ride was row 3, and then I got second ride was front row. We talked them into letting us have it, and by I was like, "Yep, this is it." And for a while, I didn't accept it to be my number one, but then I realized it's like I spend most of my time fanboying over this ride, so it's probably my number one.
For me, it was very close for with Boulder Dash, because I've loved Boulder Dash since they retracted back in 07. And unfortunately they took out the retracking, so it's not as good of a ride as it was back then. Which I don't know if either of you guys have been on it.
Not yet, sadly.
I planned on it this year, but not anymore.
It's a shame because just fun story about Boulder Dash was it's been open for a hot minute, like 2000. So
I think it was 90. I'm gonna look at it.
I think it was 99, 2000. But
2000.
There you go. So it had been on that original configuration for a while, and then GCI came in, or Gravity Group, one of the two, and retracted the. Yeah, it was. I forget which one it may have been.
I think it was GCI. I could be wrong.
GCI did Wildcat at Lake Compound, so I don't know about.
I think they would have did it. I think they would have did the other one too, because it makes
probably.
sense. You stay with someone you know.
Random Boulder Dash turns 20 on Wednesday or Thursday, so.
But their ending wasn't as good as it was, and then all of a sudden they retract a triple up into it, and then you're literally just out of your seat. It's like the quad down, really. It was one of my favorite elements when they had it in there. Because
and then didn't they take it out again?
They took it out because it was beating up the trains too much after a couple of years. So they had to because I think they had to buy a whole new train because it was damaging the trains that much, and the track itself. It was getting pretty rough through there. So they had to they did it to a double up, because we rode it. Me and Mark on the podcast rode it a couple of years ago, and it certainly was not as good as it was. But I remember riding it then like it was. I'd never been on it before, and it was. And at the time, funny enough, as we go down my top 5, I didn't think anything would ever beat El Toro. And then all of a sudden I get on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then it beat El Toro, and then Lightning Rod was the same way. I was like, wait, there's no way this could be better. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, maybe a little short. Then you hit that quad down, and you're like, yep, no question.
Yep. You start down that quad down, and it's like, I'm in heaven. This is what airtime heaven feels like.
Exactly.
No, you keep bringing it up, so Toro, you keep talking about El Toro. That ride, I got opinions on that ride. And it all comes down to, again, I am convinced I had a very bad ride on it, because this airtime you speak of, I don't remember any of.
So it's going to be, here's the other same thing. I feel the same way with, I haven't been on it in a while, so I don't have the new knowledge of how it rides now compared to how I remember it to say how good it actually is right now. Because also last time I rode it, RMC wasn't even a thing. So it's been over a decade, 12 years now since I've been on it. I last rode in 07 or 08. I don't remember which year, but it was butter smooth. The ejector hill over Colossus was still there when I rode it last. Or was it Colossus? I don't remember the name of the coaster.
Rolling Thunder.
It was
Rolling Thunder. There it is. And it was still there. And over that airtime hill, the best, still, to my memory, the best airtime hill I've ever been on. With the quad down. So I really want to get on it again, just like I did with Boulder Dash, because in my top 20, that is the only one, actually, in my top 30 now, that is the only coaster I haven't been on in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I got to ride it. Like, I rode it once in the back row on my way home from visiting family in New York a couple of years ago. We were like, we'll stop. We had those, Ace gives us free tickets to the Six Flags parks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they expire next week. Crap. We're driving past Great Adventure today. Want to stop? So we did like a quick credit run. I think I've got 8 of what they're 13 or 14 now. We just did it in like 4 hours. Yeah. But I just remember riding it, and I was like, just seeing what it makes it up to be. It just didn't hit me as intense as I was expecting. and because of that, I've always been disappointed.
Yeah,
but I've talked.
I'll say I think it's one of those rides you kind of got to ride again.
Well, that was the same thing with Maverick. The first time I rode Maverick, I was severely disappointed, and then over the years, I've grown to it's my second favorite at Cedar Point.
Yeah, that actually was Tom's feelings too when he first rode it. Tom from the podcast. For those who don't know, truck riders.
Get the plugs in.
He wasn't a huge fan of it either, but then after riding it a few more times, he's like, you know what, this really is a good ride because it's one of those unknown things, and you hear the hype. So I've desensitized myself over the years. I desensitized myself to hype as much as possible.
That was Toro and Maverick for me. After those two, I was like, okay, I'm not going to hype rides as much anymore.
Yeah.
And it's made my experience so much better because one of the rides that I know a bunch of people hype about, and you hear it talked about a bunch, is X2. And I walked in with no expectations. I was like, this is going to be awful. I'm going to hate it. Mm-hmm. I got off of it, and it was my number 2. It was one of those... I'm pretty sure I got off of it, and I couldn't talk for about 10 minutes. Literally could not talk. And this was that we were out there for CoasterCon last summer with Ace, and I love ACRT so much, and after that was my best session ever. They just let me sit in X2's front row for an hour without making me get out of my seat. It truly was the most wonderful thing ever, because no one else wanted to ride it because Full Throttle was open and everyone wanted to go get that credit. So I was like, I'm just going to stay here in this inside seat on X2 for an hour. And that was one of the best hours of my summer last year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, X2 is one of those coasters you really, it's a beaut.
It's one of those I hear everyone, you either love it or hate it. And I'm one of those, I love it to the death people.
Oh yeah, I definitely love it. Yeah, if you're not a fan of those inversions, you're not going to be a fan of it, for sure.
Oh, no. If you don't like being tossed... My dad does not like it at all. He was like, it's okay. I wrote it, and I got the credit, and I'm done with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, so let's see. Any other... I think we talked a little bit about off-air. I know, Chris, this is one of your rides that you always want to talk about, and anyone who's ridden it, is Wildfire at Kolmarden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so I'll let you pick his brain.
Gosh.
RMC goodness in Sweden.
Well, let's just start with, what do you think about it?
So Wildfire is my number 7.
Okay.
The only RMCs I have above it is Goliath at Great America, Lightning Rod, and Steel Vengeance. And right behind it's Outlaw Run and Storm Chaser, just to put you in my thought process of these rides.
Okay.
And Wildfire, when I rode it, it was opening year. It was a couple of months after opening, and I thought it was great. It really delivered on everything that the standard RMC experience. But this was 2016, so there wasn't like a standard experience yet, and it reminded me of a better version of Wicked Cyclone. So, you guys been on Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England?
No, again, we were talking about this summer, but
but that ride is a good one. But what it does, and my only thing I could say to detriment of this ride, is that the ending. I think it should have ended a little bit sooner. Just like with Lightning Rod, I could say it could have done a little more. I think Lightning Rod or Wildfire should have been a little bit shorter because like they did like a turnaround, go back out, and then come back in with an airtime hill and a turnaround. It creeps a smidge through those turns, and you're like, was that needed? And we rode it, and me and my wife went. We went, on it 5-6 times. There was no wait, walk on. It was
back of a zoo.
Yeah, it's the back of a zoo, middle of August. By the way, to get there took us almost an hour and a half because we didn't drive in Europe. So we took a train and then took a bus, and then we got lost, and then we got there.
Hey, you can't say you've been to Europe unless you have been lost in Europe. That is, from personal experience, I will say I have been, like, not lost to the point where I can't, find myself. But it was, where are we again? This isn't where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it is really a great ride. I do still love it to this day, and rewatching some POVs of it just to remind myself It's been a while since I've been on it now, and the I think the thing that struck me the most when we rode it, because it was late fall, it was early fall, late summer, and was the views of the lake. I'm sure you guys have seen POVs of it. The views are like they look good on video, and in real life, it's just so much better. The park's a nice park. It's not a great park, right? It's middle of nowhere. It's not exactly the. I mean, to be honest, I like Grunland in Stockholm over Kolmarden for sure. I'm also.
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't. Well, Grunland's also like a proper theme park too.
This is also a zoo mixed with like 2 coasters, and we didn't want to ride the other coaster, so we just rode Wildfire like 8 times. But the views were incredible. It was a beautiful park, and we absolutely loved just that alone helped out. Then it's got all the standard, as I said, it's got all the standard incredible experiences. The airtime was great. It has fan turn, wave turn, inversions, everything you really want. The stall's incredible. It's everything great about it. And I remember it's funny because I rode it before most of my Coaster Force friends, and they absolutely adored it. And I was like, I told you, because it was great. It really cooks it around there. Again, short of a little bit of a lull at the end, which I just saw again. Yeah, it kind of creeps over an airtime hill. I think they could have cut that thing a smidge shorter, but it really hits the entire way around. And if you really want a great experience, I don't think it's going to be number one for you, unless you haven't been on Lightning Rod. But
I've always made the joke: coasters don't compete for my number 1 spot; they go for the number 2.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those great ones, and I'm glad to have ridden it because still to this day, not surprisingly actually, because it's easy to get to Stockholm depending on where you live. Even from the States, it's relatively easy to get there. It just costs some cash. It's not the most inaccessible RMC there is. So
there's for Americans, I'd say probably the most inaccessible is either Medusa, although that one's still, you can get to that one pretty easy. But I'd say Hakuge right now, it's the hardest to get to because a lot of people don't want to go to Japan.
Yeah, getting to Japan, in Sweden, everybody knew English. That was actually that was my biggest concern actually. So I'd never been to Europe before this trip. I literally landed. It was my first time to another country. Not just to another people that don't speak English. I'd never even been to Canada or Mexico, and I landed in Sweden, and I was like, I don't know Swedish, and all these signs are in Swedish. Shoot,
that was one thing. My dad works for an international company, so I've had the good fortune. I've been to Europe twice now. Again, I've never been really to a theme park over there, which is a shame. But the first time you go over there, it's like, are we going to be able to speak to anyone? For most European places, like they require English to graduate like their high school. You have to take English, which is amazing for us. And I really wish we did that here because I love foreign languages and stuff. It's just, it's a lot of fun to speak them, but you go over there and everyone knows English and a lot of them speak English better than most Americans do, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, it was great because when we got lost, I mentioned we got lost when we were going to Kolmarden, we actually got helped out by 3 Swedish kids at this bus stop. We were like, "Hey, how do we get out of here?" And they, in perfect English, like, "Oh yeah, hey, do you have this app on your phone?" With a little bit of an accent, of course. But yeah, do you have this app on your phone? Yeah, right here. Oh yeah, just buy this. Oh, okay. Out of there in 5 minutes, right? So we just had to wait for a bus to come. So and we paid for it and everything. So yeah, it was surprising the amount of English speakers. I didn't see many Americans. I think that was the one. So when that trip that I went on, we also went to Tivoli, which Tivoli is a beautiful park. So by the way, Copenhagen, if you guys just go when you get older, or hell, if you even go with family, go to.
Well, we're planning on going next summer if everything calms down.
Yeah, Copenhagen's a great city just to go and walk around and ride bikes. Like I had fun. Literally, there was a day me and my wife just rode bikes around Copenhagen. And just stopped at random joints to eat, and just went around just to random parts of the city. Rode the bus, like it's a great place. But yeah, Tivoli is right outside the train station. We rode the train station in. I rode a train in from Stockholm, and Tivoli was right outside of it, and we were like, "Wait a minute, really?" I didn't look anything up, by the way. There's no planning for me. I'm not a planning person. I'm like, wing it. Let's find out when we get there. But
I like that.
but Tivoli, yeah, Tivoli's a beautiful park too, and so and Grunland, of course, is Grunland, but yeah, if you go, Copenhagen is definitely one of those places too. I would say the more east you go, the less English is a thing. So yeah.
Okay, that makes
Oh
sense.
no, certainly.
Though, honestly,
we went to Poland too because we went to Auschwitz, and
yeah, this was before Energylandia, as you know.
which is a shame because we literally drove past it.
Oh, I've looked it up before because there was a point in time where we were talking about going to Germany again for family vacation. I was like, I wonder what it would take to get to Energylandia, and I've also always wanted to visit Auschwitz just to go there and see it. That's a really depressing topic.
Oh no, that's
avoid that one.
I
mean, it's an amazing piece of history, but it's the things that happen there are.
Oh no, it's and just tangent on it real quick. It is incredibly humbling of an experience as a human being.
Oh,
more than anything, that's really what that came down to. I forget what I said on my Instagram post for it, but it was like this is a place that I'm a talkative person, as you guys can tell. I said maybe 3 or 4 words for 8 hours straight.
It's one of those. The town we go to in Germany is where they held the war trials after all of it was over, and even just going to that building is a insanely humbling thing because they've of course got all the exhibits there. But that's always one of those places. I'm a huge history buff, so it's on the bucket list of places to get to go one day. But you look at Energylandia now; it's like it's in the middle of the. It's not from other places that I want to go.
Yeah, and the good thing is Krakow is dirt cheap. If you're going to go anywhere in Poland. Warsaw and Krakow. We had a whole flat to ourselves for $31.
And I remember James Larson was posting things about how cheap he got his place by Energylandia. I was like, "You got it for how much?"
Yeah, whole flat in Krakow, not like out off the beaten path kind of place. We're relatively close to the main city center. $31. I was like, this can't be real, right? Like I was like, this cannot be real. We actually talked to the guy who owns it. He lived in Warsaw. And he was like, yeah, I used to live there. I rent that place out because it's a good spot. A lot of tourists live in that area. So, or live in that area, visit that area. So, yeah, it's great little. I like it.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I've still got Wildfire up on my computer, and I'm just looking at pictures of this. Of course, everyone that listens to this, I hope you know I'm a photographer. If you don't, we got. But this coaster, I see pictures of this thing all the time. And I'm like, I want to take pictures of this ride.
Oh God, yeah. If you want a coaster, and I said it's beautiful just to look at, let alone have pictures of. I am a terrible photographer. I have the basics, like I can take a good shot, but in no way, shape, or form am I a great photographer. I got some great shots of it, and I certainly enjoy it.
It looks so amazing, and I've got there's one guy on Twitter, Thrill Rides Photography. He's got a ton of pictures of this coaster, and every one of them, I'm like, that thing just looks fantastic. It really doesn't look like you can find a bad angle of it.
Yeah, no, because it's the way the park does. It kind of wraps around it, and like so like the entrance is right, obviously by the station, and the line's right next to the station, but it keeps going down a hill towards that lake a little bit. Not too far. Yeah. You're not going like 300 feet. But there's a water park down there. So if you really wanted to be adventurous, you could jump into the water park.
I will admit to have doing such things. Dunning, that's the word now. Doing such things here in America.
I'm all about dunning it. It's all right. But no, it's it's a beautiful spot. It's a beautiful place. The Sweden itself is just a great country. Just because I liked it there. It was nice. But yeah, if you're gonna take I've seen ridiculous amounts of pictures of that thing. It was hard for me to find a bad photo, really, of that coaster.
And I'm just gonna say, the trains look amazing too. Those trains look fantastic.
Oh yeah, the train just added to it. You're just like, wait, this really? All right, well, I will say that's one thing RMC does well.
Oh, their trains are fantastic.
Zondra's is just from pictures, it looks amazing. And then there's Lightning Rod's OG0, which is probably the best ever in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. The original. Did you ever get to see the full glory trains,
yeah.
Marcus? Like, with the trunks and everything. Oh yeah, those were the days. Those were the. I was not a photographer when the trunks were still around. I have really crappy phone pictures of them, but I didn't get into photography until after the trunks had been removed and the stripping of the original Zero had begun.
I wrote it, as I mentioned, I wrote it a couple of days after opening, and
those memories still stick out in my mind. It's so clear.
Yeah, oh no, I remember full speed launch and all that fun. Oh yeah, still.
You're gonna make me go. I'm gonna have to take a break from the podcast for a minute. Just thinking about the old launch and I don't care if it tore the thing apart. I've always said I would rather have a working one than a non-working one, but I would pay to get one more ride, just like it was back in 2016. Go over the top and have bruises on your thighs.
Oh yeah, just on the first 5 seconds of the ride, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, you kick the launch up, you hit the top of that thing, and it was like, oh, my thighs, and then you just knew you were about to be assaulted in every which direction.
Yeah, I think the greatest thing is you don't expect it either.
Oh, no. I remember watching people watch that ride. In the queue, you see them like, it just took off up that hill. It's going up that hill really fast. I have a feeling we could talk about coasters all night.
Well, we are coaster enthusiasts after all.
We are coaster enthusiasts. Although I do like my drink coasters. I've got a really nice one Alabama Splash Adventure gave me. It's my Rampage coaster. I've never been to the park. They were like, here's this at an Ace event. I was like, okay, I'll use that on my desk. So, we're closing in on an hour here, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But we'll ask the same question, and you've kind of already alluded to it, but what is your favorite coaster? And then we'll also throw in, what is your favorite park?
Oh, man. All right, so favorite coaster is Steel Vengeance. That ride has literally everything. When I first rode it, it was the best, but not quite the best. But then I hadn't realized how good it was until I rode it again. And I know a lot of people, it was funny because at first, a lot of people were unwilling to say it was the best because it was at Cedar Point.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It was like, is it the best, though? Because Millennium Force is in the same park and Maverick's right next to it. And
oh, it's not even that. Like, from my experience with people it was just like they didn't want to acknowledge that Cedar Point had built the best ride in the world again.
Oh, yeah, and that's true, because there's definitely... you've got your Cedar Point fanboys, but then you've also got your... I guess anti-Cedar Point fanboys who are like, Cedar Point is not that good, and they don't really have that good of rides. And
yeah, they're vehemently against Cedar Point. And while, I'm born and raised in Ohio, so I was kind of raised at Cedar Point, but I'm one of those realistic fanboys, you could say. I know its faults. It's a concrete, slab. It has its ride selection is subpar in a lot of respects. But it also has, if you're looking for a day with mostly good, often great coasters, you're really not going to find another park with the same lineup in the world. Magic Mountain is the only thing that comes close, and it's relatively close.
Yeah, those two I could go back and forth because there's rides I like it both more than the other. It really just comes down to the day of the week, which one I'd pick over the other.
Yeah, and I've been to Magic Mountain a few times now, but I would definitely say that they have we've had a whole episode about this ourselves, but the tops at both parks, and they really have like a top 5, and then it drops off significantly.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
well, I will say this: when we were at Magic Mountain, like I said, we were there for CoasterCon, so I know they rolled the red carpet out for Ace attendees, and let's put it this way: I know y'all are blocked by them on Twitter, but so when we were at the park, they all liked almost every one of my tweets. I tagged them in. Since we've left the park, I don't think they have liked any of my tweets. So I know they were literally just combing, trying to make the Ace people happy, but it didn't matter. They impressed me while I was there, which is what matters.
Yep.
So.
Yep. See, that's also why I like Kentucky Kingdom so much, because guess who liked my tweet, our Drunk Riders tweet, like 3 days ago?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Is like when Kentucky Kingdom followed me, I was like, "There's a reason I love this park." Mm-hmm. It's like they like the community. They support the community, which is something I wish more parks would.
Yeah, for sure.
I love my home park, but I complain constantly because Kentucky Kingdom may have the best, but I think Dollywood has the worst social media because
They don't exist.
in the
Really.
yeah, that's the thing. In the I think 2 years I have been posting pictures of Dollywood on Twitter, like tons and tons of pictures. They did not like one of my tweets until about a month ago. It was the first time they'd ever liked one of my tweets, and it's bad because I know they're PR people, and it's like, y'all really need to step up your game.
I know a few of them myself as well, and I'm like, y'all. I mean, I expect better. So no, and speaking of, I would say my favorite park was Silver Dollar City.
Oh boy, here we go.
Love me some Silver Dollar City.
All right, you got me started.
I would say my close second would be Dollywood.
Well, Chris, I'll let you. You're gonna talk about. You gotta talk about Silver Dollar City now, and your
Silver
love
Dollar
for
City
that
is the
park.
best park there is. Like, Time Traveler is my number one coaster. It's oh my gosh, I could talk about Time Traveler for hours, but I'm gonna keep it down. But Silver Dollar City is just the perfect combination of atmosphere and some of the best coasters in the world. It's just perfect for me.
Yeah, what solidified Silver Dollar City for me was I went to Outlaw Run's Media Day with Coaster Force, and I just had the absolute best time there. Because it was a media day, so day one we did recordings. I rode it a few times. Outlaw Run, obviously, it's a great coaster. And then the next day they had the full media day, and it was crazy fun. I mean, I think I've told the story on the podcast before, but we got to hang out with Shilky and Fred Grubb and all these fun people in the industry, and then the owners of the park and all these fun folks that were just so accommodating. Now, there's no doubt I've been to other parks that have been like that too. But then, so we come back a couple of weeks later for Coaster Force, our Texas trip. And they were the most hospitable folks on the planet. They gave us discounted tickets, free, food, all this fun stuff. For no real reason. We weren't a big group. It was just that, they are a great park to be with and to interact with. It reminds me of what Kentucky Kingdom is to me now. I haven't been to Silver Dollar City in a few years now, but I would definitely say that they definitely are in the same realm for love of how they treated at the time, and that's really how you do it. Is you build up that love like that. All these years later, I haven't been back. I've been to other parks that have treated me just as well or better, and I still love the park. And I think that comes in especially with the great food, and then the rides themselves. Because I haven't even been on Time Traveler yet, but I've heard it and I've seen good things. I just haven't been able to get down to Missouri anytime recently.
The first drop on Time Traveler is the best airtime moment I've ever experienced. Like, that's what solidified it for me. You can ask Jack. I'm not a person who really likes to marathon rides, but Time Traveler, I did marathon until it was my number one, and just that was such a perfect day. And one thing I loved about that park so much is that it seemed like there wasn't hardly any space that wasn't just covered in trees and beautiful landscaping. And like, being from Florida where there's no mountains, being in a place where there's awesome terrain and all this cool landscaping, I just felt like in heaven, because I had my new favorite coaster, and I had great staff, and I had just amazing atmosphere all at once. It was one of the best days I've ever had, for sure.
Yeah, and I remember when he found out, when he said it was his number one, I was like, okay. And this is one of those things, is like, it's not a coaster I expected to hear be someone's number one. Now, it's definitely jumped on my bucket list since then, and hopefully if we're planning a trip to go ride it in like a month, if everything works
That'll
out.
be a fun trip if this happens.
But I just sent it to you on Twitter. But for his Christmas gift this year, I designed a custom Time Traveler poster for him.
Nice.
Which took me hours, but it is still one of my favorite things ever. And I spent so much time staring at the blueprints for that ride that now it is very like, okay, I got to go ride this thing.
Oh yeah, the theming's great, and the trains look just amazing. Like, it doesn't do anything wrong for me. It's just a little short. That's the one thing that I could complain about, but everything else was just perfect for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks very interesting and definitely worth another visit. On top of Outlaw Run, Wildfire, all the other great rides there. I really just want to get on it again or go to that park again.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it could like more in Dollywood. It's one of those things never get me to say I like it more in Dollywood, but it's because Dollywood's my home park. From what I have seen, if there is any park in the world that could rival the love for Dollywood, is that one. Just because it looks so perfect. And they're sister parks, so they're run the exact same way. So it's like I know what I'm going to get, and I know I'm going to enjoy it already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what helps too is that you know how good it is going into it, and then looking back, you're like, yeah, it's still that good. All these years later, yep, I still enjoy it. Still a good time.
Well, that was one of the things I was messaging back and forth in like comments with someone on Reddit the other day. They were like, "What's Dollywood's major plan?" I was like, "Well, here's what I know, and I know a lot more than I can say." But they were basically, it's like I said to them, it's like when I started visiting other parks, I realized how good I had it having Dollywood as a home park, because more often than not, I'd be like, well, I wish they did this. Like, they don't have bins on the platform, or there's not enough trees, or just random things that I got accustomed to having Dollywood as a home park. And then you go to Cedar Point, and it's like, what do you mean you don't have bins on your platforms?
Any Six Flags park.
Yeah.
Also Six Flags parks.
Yeah, I've been to some 70 or so amusement parks, big to small, and all this fun stuff. And yeah, seeing the scope of differences between the parks is just astounding in some cases.
Oh, it's amazing. Like the craziest thing is like I've gone from a Cedar Fair park to a like Canobes to a Cedar Fair park in a day. The difference you see between like your family-owned park and your corporate-run parks are crazy.
Oh yeah.
But like I said earlier, we could literally talk about stuff like all night.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the time. We've been on for over an hour now. We've talked about a ton. I think this episode is literally just going to be named Tangent.
Nothing wrong with it. Tangents are good.
Nothing wrong with that at all. So, Marcus, tell everyone where they can find you. Plug yourself. Plug everything. Go ahead.
So, I'm really found two different ways. The big follow that everybody, but most people know about is Coaster Force, of course. I'm a team member on there. I've been a team member for the better half of almost 2 decades now. I joined there in like 2006. So, but yeah, I'm on that social media pretty frequently. So if you see Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, Coaster Force it is. And then also my personal love, the Drunk Riders. It's me. My coaster friends Tom and Mark, I've known them for God knows how, all 10, 15 years now as well. And we're found on Facebook, the Drunk Riders. We're found on Twitter, the Drunk Riders, and every kind of platform under the sun.
I just want to take that moment in that you referred to it as Twitter and not the twats.
the twatter. Yes. We you guys have both been, both of you hopefully have been avid listeners since the beginning.
Chris doesn't listen. He listened to a few. I listen pretty religiously because if I need to laugh, I know what podcast I'm going to.
Yes, we are a truly unique podcast, to say the least. There's
a couple episodes I'll back to. Anyone that Hagrid is going to be mentioned in, where it's just 10 minutes of constant yelling. I love to go back to those episodes.
Yeah, there's a few that I go back myself and I just laugh. So I have them all stored in my computer too, so I got pretty quick access to all of our episodes. But
all those are on a Google Drive, and I'm like, I can go listen to any one I want.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years of us doing it, and we started it simply because we wanted a podcast on Coaster Force. We had been throwing it around, and I talked to the guys over there, and they were supportive of us, and we were just like, the podcast is literally just like us talking every night. So when I get done with you guys, I'm gonna go play some games with Mark and Kevin. Actually, funny enough,
well,
the guy who doesn't exist.
I thought he didn't exist.
He doesn't exist. So it's just gonna be me and Mark. And shoot the crap just like we always do. So yeah, no, it's the podcast is fun. We're definitely unique. You saw for those who are listening who didn't see
Yes, and I was going to mention this. Congratulations on your $3,000+ charity raise this weekend.
Yes, we I don't know how. We have some very loyal listeners. We did for those who are still listening. One, you're the real MVP, and two, we raised what was it? $3,365, something like that.
It was just, there was a point in time where it just kind of went up incrementally, and then around like 11 o'clock, something switched, and it was just going up by $500 at the time.
Yeah, people just started donating $200, $300, $400 all of a sudden, and our goal was 500. I thought that would be ambitious, and hopefully we would reach it. And then once we reached $2,000, we were like, wait a minute, CoasterBot just did this. Let's see if we can beat them.
And the big thing, I was like, they did that in 8 hours. Y'all did this in like 3.5.
Yeah, it was the 3, 4.5, 3. Yeah, by the time I passed out, unfortunately, we had done that. Yeah, it was us and In the Loop, Legend, Drew, and Online Hide, all three legendary guys, especially from In the Loop.
All great follows on Twitter.
Yes, if you're gonna follow some good people with some good knowledge. We've had Hyde on the show before, and he provided some great insight when he was on. And Legend's just a legend. He really is a legend. And they were all. And I've met Drew multiple times, and I've met them all actually. But yeah, that was just a good time. I don't think we talked about coasters that often.
No, it was just, there was a lot of just laughing, and it was an all around good time. I was very disappointed that I had to go to work the next day because I totally wanted to stay up all night and watch it.
Yeah, it's still on our Twitch. If you guys want to watch it, if anybody's listening that wants to watch it, go ahead and jump on our Twitch, twitch.tv/The Drunk Riders. And
I'll link it to everyone.
I like it. And you'll see a little bit of what it's like to be around us for 5 minutes. I
think at one point, really early on, y'all were just kind of getting started. Like, so what's y'all's podcast like? And I think I said in the chat, it's like, hey, Marcus, what's your opinion on the Hagrids? And I said, that should get them started.
Oh, yeah, and Tom started to go off. I was like, Tom, stop. That's later. That's when we're drunker. Stop it.
Yeah. So, yeah, big thank you to Marcus for coming on tonight. I also owe you a thank you. Marcus is the one who gave us a ton of advice on getting started podcasting, so thank you for that.
Of course.
We've really enjoyed doing it. We will have to have on, because I said we go on all night, name coasters, and going off on tangents. But for tonight, I think we're going to sign off. Chris, you got anything you want to add?
Nope, that's it.
Well, sounds good. We will see y'all next week, and stay safe out there.
Yep. See you guys.
Enjoy the tangents. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Twisted Travelers Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week.